I guess TSB back at it again. Welcome to First Impressions to Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. Previous installment to this one was Car Mechanic Simulator 2015, and the new version is primarily focused on making minor improvements to the already working formula and polishing the whole thing up so that it has more of a AAA feel instead of, just an indie studio feel. So what you do is you repair cars. You're a car mechanic after all, so no surprises here. And how you do that is take orders either by directly going to your phone or by going to right-clicking and going to your orders. I'm not sure how this is on consoles, but this is where you find your orders. You have the story orders and other generic orders that will come and go. As you can see, the story order doesn't have a timer, so it will remain here stationary until you elect to progress the story. So far I did not see any impact on whether you are doing the story missions or not, because overall you have levels. You start on level 1, no surprises there. Max level, it seems, is level 50. Currently, as you can see, I'm level 19, and this is the skill tree, and as you level up you get points, and which you can spend on various things like garage expansion, for example. Originally you start with a smaller size garage where you have only like this first entrance, second, not the second one, and you don't have this area at all, and you have just this little small thing. And gradually, as you gain experience points by completing orders and working on cars, you will unlock levels and you will unlock a larger garage. Okay, so how you repair things? Let's take an order. So as you can see, most of these items already have like some kind of general explanation of what's wrong with the car. When you start up, you have a full list of things that are wrong with the car, and you are essentially given a list of what to do. As you gradually gain experience, the descriptions will become more vague. It will provide a certain level of challenge to you and some new things to do instead of giving you like a list. The list is a good start for you to learn where certain things are at and how cars are put together. But later on you would want like general description, just find all of the stuff. Okay, so as you can see from the Mazda and from the Jeep, I have several DLCs. I will show you the full list either somewhere on the screen or later on, I'm not sure right now. The developers of the game have their own makes that mimic some real world makes, of course, and because you have to actually pay for the license. So I'm not sure whether they introduced their own makes for 2018 that were not part of 2015, but you have everything from like old cars to like newer SUVs, as you can see, and like some things that would mimic like muscle cars and general stuff. But you have like even regular cars that you would find on the road, not just these extreme vehicles, quote unquote. Okay, so let's take one car that has stuff wrong with it. Sure, take this one, although it has low conditions. I would like to show you. Let's take the, although it is DLC, but let's take it and show it how you would take a look at the car. We'll bring up the car status for each order, and as you can see, I don't know what's wrong with this car yet. I don't have the list provided, but I know that it has brake problems. So one of the easiest way how to test out what's wrong with your car is to take it to a test track, and if the engine is actually operable, then you can go there freely. If you cannot start a car, of course you need to work on the engine first so that you can even take it here. So this is a test course. There was something similar in 2015 as well. You test the acceleration, the way the car handles in tight turns, you test the suspension, and finally the brakes. So one thing I must note is that the cars generally feel very light. They don't seem to have proper weight on them, so it's very easy to lose control of the cars, especially the ones that are faster, or from the DLC you have some particularly fast cars, and if you go through the suspension test, for example, it's very easy to put the car on the side, or you know, even on the roof. So take care when you're going faster with a faster car. The original version in 2015 was like a factory track, which was more closed, I would say. Generally speaking, I feel that the developers are trying to expand the experience so that you have more exterior shots, essentially. Okay, so as you can see, the conditions of several items are, we found out the condition of several items. The conditions are fairly good. The customer wants to have all parts above 76%, and if we take a look at the this overview mode, you can see that those parts were tested by taking it to the track. We have also a test path, which is unlocked quite early on, and it's a very useful tool. So you unlock it at level 4. And what you do is that you test the brakes and suspension, and early on, most of your work will be around the brakes and suspension. And this is, you know, all fairly easy. Do what you're told. Okay, and as you can see, we found a few items wrong. I'm not sure whether that's everything. Take a look. Okay, we have still one part to go, but that's usually easy to find by visual examination. Okay, let's pull the car on the lifter. Generally saying, I would say that they have thought much more about the layout of the garage and how you would have things in 2018 as they did in 2015. Because this feels pretty much natural, like how the whole thing is laid out, and the modularity is also very nice. I didn't expect that they would open up this part. It made logical sense, but you know, as I saw, after I saw how they expanded this bit, you start without this bit, and it was logical that they would expand there. I'm not sure where they would expand next, because there is further expansion, as you can see here. There's further expansion to your garage to come, so I'm very intrigued about that. Okay, so how we do stuff. So we can take a look at the condition, and you can already see that, hey, these are the parts I need to replace. So you need to get to them. You can't just take a part from the middle of the car. So you will gradually work towards the part, as it's very helpful, you know, with the highlighting. You can see that which parts you need to take off before you can access the part. This is in normal mode. There is also an expert mode where you don't have these highlighted, and you need to know that, okay, where does everything go. Also, early on, when you don't know where stuff is, you can always highlight it. So, you know, I can say that, hey, I don't know where the brake pads are. So I highlight all of the brake pads, and you have a much easier time of getting there. Okay, once you take off a faulty part, you replace it. I have plenty of the usual suspects bought. As you can see, I have many brake pads pre-bought. Okay, let's take a look. It's the 75%, okay. There, these are fairly easy bits to replace. Originally on, when you need to buy parts, you have to go to this computer and, you know, search for whatever you need and buy it here. You can buy like multiple pieces of the same part that you can stock up for, you know, later times, so that you don't have to jump back and forth all the time. But one of the first improvements I suggest you to get very much is the tablet, where you can just hit one button and you can immediately go to the purchasing screen. So several parts consist of more than one thing. For example, the brake caliper consists of the brake caliper and the brake caliper cylinder. This is one of the improvements they did from 2015, because in 2015 everything was just one piece. So For example, the rubber bushings that are here and in these arms down here were very, very difficult to get to. And now if you take off the part, you take also off the bushing. So those were one of the more common suspects that you had to replace. So it's nice to see them going this way and making your life easier and also making it more interesting. More interesting because of how the tires and the tire mechanic work, or how the shock absorbers work, for example, these. Let's take one apart. Take one apart so that you see how. So you have several workstations like this where you can take apart things. For example, this is to take apart the shock absorbers. So let's say I want to separate this. I just say, hey, let's separate. And there is an animation for it. And once it's done, I can take it and just replace one of the constituent parts. And when I'm done with it, when I found okay, I want to replace it with this, I just pick the parts and join it. And again, this thing does its thing. And we have shock absorber, and then we just go in and put it in. Originally, 2015, you had to take it apart one piece at a time, and this adds immersion to the game. Similarly to the tires, when you are some of the jobs you have like the tire thread is down, or the rim is damaged, so you have to take it apart, buy a new one, and with the new ones you actually are buying, like, you need to consider not just the model itself but also the size and this thing, which is a measure. I'm not sure what that is, but the size is pretty straightforward, and you have to buy the specific one for the car. It's also a nice addition. Okay. One thing I was caught by surprise early on, I was not thinking because this was new, is that when you put the tire on the rim, you actually have to balance the tire. There is an icon for that, so you know that, hey, this is not balanced. But early on I was like, why am I not able to put the tire back on the car? Okay, yeah, I figured that, hey, there is something there, and I found that, hey, we have a wheel balancer, so it makes sense that we would actually have to balance the wheel. So again, does its thing. So usually it's nice if you have to replace all four to have like a certain work order. When it's balanced, you can just take it and again put it back on the car. No. Yep, that's what I wanted. Okay, we run out of brake discs, so let's buy some. Sure. And I encourage buying like 5 or 6 of each thing when you buy it, because money is not that big of an issue. As you can see, like I have close to 200k. I'm not sure, you start around like, I don't know, 5k-ish, I want to say, something around like that. Not that much, like you can't buy everything, stock up with everything, or buy like your own cars at the start, but definitely enough to get you started. Okay, you have a repair bench. This is again unlocked after level 4, and here you can repair some of the items, so this will save you time. As you can see, like, this is how it looks, and I managed to repair that. And gradually you will see that, okay, these bits I want to keep and these bits I want to sell, and there is actually a good way to sell junk. You will see that you have some items that have terrible conditions that are essentially not repairable, and you can sell everything under a certain percentage. I found that 30% is straightforward. You get some cash, and as you can see, I'm not repairing stuff above 70%. The reason is that there are a lot of jobs that have the condition much below 70%, like you know, 35% minimal parts condition. You can reuse parts, you don't need to repair them to 100% because it's not guaranteed. There are several skills you can get to improve your chances, but you start off with, I don't know, 50% maybe. Like this is, you can see, like I have these all the way up to, I have level 4 in this. There's an 85% chance of success, but there is still a chance of failure. So don't throw away parts if you don't need to have everything at 100%. Okay, well, let's see whether we have everything for this car. No, not yet. There's one more thing, and this is a brake problem. Willing to bet that it's not a bushing, so it has to be a servo or something like that. The ABS pump, yeah. ABS module is rusted, and again, like, rust is deployed as the percentage, the condition of the part decreases. As you can see, the ABS module had only 9% condition, so it's good for starters to take jobs where the minimal condition is high, expected minimal condition is high, because as you can see, most of the parts here look like new. I will take one more job that has much lower module, much lower minimal part condition requirement, so that you see that, okay, you know, if half of the parts are rusted and I'm not sure where everything is, then it's not that easy to find things, and you will spend much more time working on one car than you will need to. Okay, as you can see, everything is fixed. You just finish the order and you get a payout in both experience and cash. So you get 1 experience point for every part that you take down or put up, and like low 120-ish for finishing an order. Okay, so let's take one that has 50% is not particularly low, but sure, let's take this one. And as you can see already from the rust, this car is in much worse condition, and as you can see from the parts, this is still okay, because like the parts that are in terrible condition, you can see that these are definitely busted, and you need to replace them. We can do it right away. But when you go and pick up something that has like a minimal part condition requirement, like 35%, then it's a much more difficult job if you don't know where everything is. Okay, let's buy some more ABS modules, so I don't need to come back always. Okay. Also, as you can see from the status, we have also gearbox problems, and again, this is gearbox, so not that difficult of a repair job as well. But there you have other tools on your tool belt, and those other tools are examining tools. Again, I really strongly suggest for you to get these. These are all on the skill tree, so as you level up, just get them to be able to quickly diagnose different problems on cars. So the first one is the electronic meter. You can move around with it, but this is all automatic. Does its thing. And you can see the conditions on various parts that are related to the electronic system. Again, compression tester. This is mostly useful for the engine itself. So if you have problems with your pistons or whatnot, then you will find the problems listed here. And this car, okay, it does have an OBD scanner. Some of the older cars don't have this, so you are not able to use this tool, which is again like it increases the immersion of the game. As you can see, ABS module newly replaced, so good to see. And one more thing, we have, well, two more things. Fuel pressure tester. This is also like you will see this very often, that the fuel pump is not working, and the fuel pump is a little bit tricky because you can access it. It's near the fuel tank, of course, but you have to access it from when the car is on the ground, and you can remove it and attach it, and this is quite a regular offender, I would say. Okay, and the last thing is the car thread tester. I did not have to use this up to this point. I used it, but I didn't have a car or an order that would have like tires in bad condition, and I didn't have to replace the tires yet. I had to replace the rims, but not tires. Okay, and as you can see in the examine mode, you know about a lot of parts already, and some of the parts you can examine in this mode as well. You don't have to. Usually, if you take things off a car, you know the status, but the condition of the part and the status. But you can examine it if it's in a particularly difficult place to get to, or if it's like the air filter base, you have to take off the clips, the top, and the filter inside to get to the base. And if this is a plastic part, so you can see that there are some like spots here, but you're not sure about the condition, and it's a borderline case. You can just examine it quickly here like this, and you don't have to spend time with that. So that's a neat thing. Okay, one more thing. Let's take this puppy for a little drive, but we are not going to the test track. We'll take you to the abandoned airport. You won't get any status information from this. It's just purely a joyride, and especially with some of the faster cars, you can test out the limits of the speed of the car. Again, with these exterior locations, the game's one of the first part of the game shows its ugly head because the graphics in the exterior shots are not that great, I must say. The game engine is focused on showing off cars, and if you will spend like 90% of your time looking at cars up close, so it's great in that aspect. But in these exterior shots, you can see that like this doesn't look that great. Of course, I'm running on fairly low details. I have a GTX 960, and I'm GPU limited in this game, definitely. But based on what you have shown here, luckily you can damage the car when you are doing stunts out here. But the objects you see here, like this, shouldn't be that taxing on your graphics card as it is. So I would say that the most work the developers have right now is with the graphics optimization. Of course, like again, most of the time you're spending looking at the cars and not outside in exterior, so it's fine most of the time. But one particularly ugly shot is when you are going to take a look at the car salon. That doesn't look at all great. And I'm playing a lot of simulator games like Euro Truck Simulator and American Truck Simulator, and those guys know how to do this, because I'm sorry, but this stuff looks ugly as duck. Like this is really like early aughts, I would say. Again, like the cars are great, but again, like you can see that getting some stuttering when I'm looking at cars here for some reason. I don't know why. You see from the listing price, you can go fairly expensive here, but again, like I would say that the appeal of this game is not buying stock cars. Okay, of course you can always go here and just buy stock if you wish, but you can go to junkyards or visit barns, and you can buy like cars that were not well kept and which need a lot of replacing. Let's go and take a look at one of those. I have several barns open. Traveling to them actually costs some money, and obtaining items there also costs some money. So early on, I wouldn't recommend going there, but later, definitely go there. Loading times are a little bit the high side as well. Okay, so as you can see, like there's junk, and you can You can rummage around in the junk and buy basically everything, and if you can repair it, then good for you. I think most of these items are cheaper like this. If you obtain them like this. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on that. I will get to cases later on. And as you can see, there are two cars here. The amount of cars, like this whole layout is generated, procedurally generated when you enter the barn. So you will see different things every time. As you can see, like there are in the skill tree there are specific skills to let you like know the condition of the car without actually examining it. I don't have those skills unlocked yet. You can see from the look of this engine that it's in terrible condition. I'm not sure whether you can take a seat and try to turn the engine on. Sometimes you succeed, but more often than not, you actually don't. In this mode, you can just take a look at the overview, but you can see like I'm clicking furiously and cannot access this. So there are some nice cars you can get like this, but you know, in terrible condition. And I noticed that these are mostly older cars, which makes sense, you know, having them in a barn. Let's take a look at what this Old Cape supercharged. You know what? 17,000. Sure, why not? I have the money for that. Let's put in car parking actually. Okay, and it disappeared. I have not been to the car parking yet because I didn't have any cars, so that will be the first for me. And then, okay, we will leave back, and as you can see, like we are paying for the parts, and you know, the worst the condition of the part is, the leaf you are paying for it, as you can see. Cases are good to, in my opinion, good to get like this. They are quite cheap this way. Cases and barn maps or locations of the barn you get by completing jobs. I was concerned initially on that these are microtransactions related. You know, these are bought with real money. Fortunately, I was not able to find any way to buy them. It seems that the developers of the game were reasonable enough to just take some aspects of the loot box craze and not actually implement like purchasable loot boxes here, and which I'm very thankful. And like this mechanic is good enough for me. And please don't bring paid loot boxes into this game. Thank you, developers. Cases work like this, so it's essentially a loot box, but again, not paid for with real money. You get them by completing jobs, so you get some parts that are in that have great quality. Some of them give actually performance bonuses, as you can see. Like there is a performance bonus here, and if you take a look, like in any car, you can see like some kind of engine curve. So you can certainly like tune up cars to have better performance, and like later on, I would say that you would actually try to buy parts that have like, you know, that have these performance bonuses. So you will, of course, there's a shop for this as well, so you can buy stuff here, but I would say that probably there are better parts that you can get within those cases, but you know, I'm not sure. This is all conjecture pretty much. Okay, and the barns, you just add the barn location to your map, and when you go, like this barn is new and the other one was somewhere here. Okay, of course, you have parking, so you can see like you have, I have 24 slots within my parking right now. Let's take a look at that. Since I didn't have any cars before, will be my very first impressions of this. Oh, look at that. Okay, it's just some old parking lot. In the previous game, this was like an underground parking space. Here, yeah. So probably, yeah, with the garage. And you can work on that, take it apart, put it back together, everything you want. And of course, once you're here, you have all your examining tools. Engine is not complete. Look at that. Oh, we have parts missing, ignition coil, yeah, rocker arms missing. You can see that this is not complete. And improvements from last time are also you can replace interior as well as exterior parts. Yeah. So you can like take the seats off and steering wheel off and whatnot. I didn't have orders like this until now, so again, don't really have experience with this. Generally speaking, like the exterior, you can take parts off like that, put them back on again. Very, very simple. As you can see, the parts have also colors. Here you can see the color. Right now I don't have the capacity, or I don't have the ability to actually paint the car, but again, with this upgrade, as you can see here, it adds the paint shop, so later on you will have an ability to also paint cars. And I had a few jobs where I had to replace body parts of the car, and here you are actually replacing them with a non-painted version, which looks weird AF. But since you don't have access to that, and you get it later on only, then it makes sense that for the time being, this is all you can do. A few more things of note. Tools here are generally, in my opinion, again, polished up from the 2015 version, and people actually thought about, hey, what do we want to do with the tools? For example, with the oil drain, originally you had to take it and move it, under the oil pan. Yeah, and under this hole, and place it precisely so that you don't spill oil on your garage. Now it's just a matter of moving the equipment, and it goes into the precise slot, and you actually work the equipment directly. The oil is released, as you can see, and you don't have to spend time doing things that are not necessarily that interesting or important. Similarly, again, like adding comfortable things, they added the engine crane. With the help of the engine crane, you can take the engine out of a car. Let me illustrate. So as you can see, I'm making the engine removable essentially, because if it's connected to the exhaust system and to the gearbox, then you cannot remove the engine. Okay, I now should be able to remove the engine there. Let's move it to A, and the engine. And now, as you can see, we have a nice hole where our engine was. We have an engine stand, and here we can essentially build a new engine from scratch. Great. But also we can work on an engine that we pulled out of a car. This is again like a compound part. It is somewhat easier to work on it like this. And as you can see, the way you would get to the underside of the engine, that you can actually rotate it on the stand. So they really thought about this. And even if you need to work on the lower side of the engine, like with the pistons and whatnot, you can get great access with just rotating this. I really did not notice it early on, and then I forgot about this functionality. So I was always working with the engine in the upright position like this, and it was terrible to work with the pistons. I was like I was clipping through the engine and trying to remove the pistons like this. It was not fun, but again, like usually I found that they thought about things and that they genuinely improved on the 2015 version. So if you're on the fence and you like 2015, then I would definitely suggest you buy 2018. I bought it on a sale and bought a few DLCs with it as well, as you can see on the screen probably right now. And for this price, definitely. And the way they have the pricing structure set up is that the base game is fairly cheap and you can learn the basics of how things work. But later on, you actually pay for the special makes, like the exotic or the real world makes, I would say. And it's great to work like on stuff like on this Porsche. And like I personally feel that paying like $4 or $5 for those DLCs is not much, and well worth the new pieces of cars they're bringing. Like they're even like, if I just quickly show how this engine looks like, this is definitely a beast. Like there are definitely parts that are common with other engines and they look similar, but you know, like the engine head cover, like everything, like this engine is a beast. So I enjoyed working on the DLC cars very much. It was a very quick review of the DLCs. So given how thorough this was, I'm not sure whether I'm going to do a review of later on of this game or whether these first impressions will be my last thing. I will probably do some smaller pieces on the DLCs themselves, you know, highlighting specific cars and whatnot. But for the time being, that's it. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Feedback is always appreciated. Leave yours down below, then hammer that subscribe button. This is TSB, signing out. Bye.